Hello, beautiful souls. Um, Thank you for coming on tonight and joining us with another episode of Within the Cauldron. And tonight we have a special guest. She has written many books, a lot on botanical, smoke sage, spell, social media spell book, quite a few books. But I'm really happy to introduce her tonight. But first, my handsome cousin Nico is with us tonight. Hey,
Hello,
Nico.
guys.
Okay, so tonight's guest is Amy Blackthorn. Hi, Amy.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight. I must say, when I first read your book, years ago, well, not years, but years ago, um, I was really intrigued about your books, and I just was like, I have to get another one and another one and another one. So, which is good
Yeah.
for you.
Yes, it's a wonderful problem to have.
Yes, it is. It is. But I just love your books. Nico, I guess we're going to start with you tonight on the first question.
Yeah. Amy, you are having a 3-part series that begins April 2nd called the Blackthorn's Protection Magic. Can you tell us about these courses?
Oh my goodness, yes. So I have a copy right here for Blackthorn's Protection Magic, and I have talked about this. I've taught a class that's 2 hours, and there's just so much to cover in the realm of self-defense, magically and physically. But there's not enough to cover in just 2 hours. It just feels like I'm breathing over the top of the subject, and we don't have enough time to do anything really good. So I'm doing 3 2-hour classes through my dear friend Matthew Venus, through their shop. It's really fantastic. I'm so excited, and it's not just we've broken down the book into mind, body, and spirit. So each of the classes will be mind, body, and spirit. We'll do 2 hours of each one, rather than sort of over glossing the top of the subject.
I love that. And I totally understand the whole 2-hour class limit. I tried to shove like the entirety of folk magic into a 2-hour lecture class, and I was speeding through it. And I was like, I do not have the time for this.
The first time I got asked to do an astrology class, I'm like, I want some hardcore people who know what they're talking about, who really want to learn and are excited. And I did an 8-hour class just on birth charts. And when people walked out, their brains were leaking out of their ears and their eyes were glazed over. I'm like, this is too much. So
too much process. Oh man, I love it though. You were in private security and self-defense before you became a writer. Did your experience in that area help you with your botanical protection book? I mean, I'm assuming it did, but I want to hear from you if it did.
It really did. I'm so excited that you asked that, because when I first proposed the book, nonfiction books are sent on a proposal. So you tell them who you are, what you want to write about, why they should let you write it. You give them a couple sample chapters, and they sort of get a feel for your voice. And so the proposal for Blackthorn's Protection Magic, I had proposed a traditional book on protection magic, and my editor, the amazing Judica Isles, went to the publisher and said, hey, look, Amy's been in security a million trillion years, and this is her actual life. She's a black belt. She's a firearms instructor. She does all the things. We should have her talk about that too. Like, it's her actual job. So why not pull from that experience? And so when she came back to me and said, hey, we want to do this book, she made it very clear. They're like, hey, we want you to include self-defense. We want you to include the situational awareness and some of the really important things that you talk about in your other classes. I mean, I've been teaching women's self-defense since 1999. I got my black belt in 2002. I've been in executive protection for over 15 years. It's not just work. It's a calling for me. And so by teaching my individual classes, I teach free community lectures in my area. When there's a need for the community support, well, I teach free classes. I've done escort work for people who are going to domestic violence court, for people who are going to get sensitive medical procedures. It's important to me. Other people's safety is my calling. So it was really great that I had the opportunity to share that on a wide variety of fronts, so to speak. I can't teach everywhere all at once, but I can release a book, and if people are willing to read it, if people are willing to
Mhm.
really dive into how they feel about self-defense and their own protection, then we can make a decision on based out of knowledge rather than fear.
Mhm.
Wow, I love that.
That's
So, if you don't mind me asking, what style did you take when you took self-defense? Was it judo, karate, tung do, or
I like Tang Soo Do. I started with judo and taekwondo. I went to aikido. I've done some training with some Krav Maga instructors. I like to pick and choose. Once I got my black belt, I understood how to learn. Made it really easy to go from a couple different, not just styles, but families of styles.
yeah.
Uh, some Wing Chun here, some Krav Maga there. Everybody has something to offer. My joy of the moment is Kali and Silat.
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah, we're good.
cool. That's good. My husband took it for years, and when we when the kids was old enough, we took the kids to karate and did the family karate for years too. So I was just interested because my husband's like, what style is she in? You know, I'm like, okay. He's sitting here next to me, so if you hear somebody talking, he's gonna say, ask her this. What's this? And that's him.
We'll just
That's
get him a microphone.
yeah, that's what he needs.
But
Okay,
I
Nick,
think
back to you, I think, hon.
like your whole sum for the protection book is why I recommend it to so many people, is because it is everything that I wanted to see in a book about protection, because it covers all of the bases. And I was just so surprised to see some of the places that it went. And I was like, absolutely. You absolutely need that. Period.
Thank you so much. It was definitely a labor of love.
Let's see. So we're skipping Amy's. There should be Sacred Smoke is one of your other books. It has to do with cleansing and moving away from sage and other alternatives, as the indigenous people have reminded us in the witchcraft practices that it's an endangered plant and that we have other options. What else can we learn from this book?
Oh my goodness. My favorite part is, so each of the end of each chapter has two plants that you can get to know that otherwise you might not have experienced. So people say, okay, what is in my area that we can learn to work with that's not sage? What can we find that is really practical and experiential while not infringing on the properties of our native brothers and sisters?
Mm.
So each chapter talks about a specific thing. Like you can start with your body, how to cleanse your home, how to cleanse your spaces. And it moves from the concentric ring, starting with ourselves and our own experiences. So how to experience plants, especially the smoke of those plants, and what do we learn about ourselves from those things. So we start with two plants that are common to you that you can find in your spice cabinet, you might have in your altar supplies. And I want you to sit, burn those plants, create the smoke of those plants, and write down the memories that are associated with those. Write up the things that come up for you. Does it make you feel good? Do you not like the smell? If you don't like the smell, does that bring up a memory? Is there something associated with it that you don't like, or is it that the smell is too harsh? So the ones that I started with in the book are ground clove and lavender, just because they're easy to find. You can find a lot of clove in spice cabinets and whatnot. Clove brings luck into the home, so you're going to start in enjoy that smoke and write down what comes to you. We're building a sacred smoke practice that does not infringe on anyone else's practices, anyone else's beliefs, and we're built on your experiences. Me, Amy Blackthorn's experience. My practice is going to be something completely different from everyone else. We don't need to steal from our indigenous partners in this place, in this spirit that we're occupying right now. There's no need for it because there are so many incredible plant allies that are reaching out every single day to work with us, especially in the land that you're sitting on right now. In Delaware, where I'm sitting, white sage doesn't grow. It likes high mountains in California, and it likes desert. It likes dry. It doesn't want to be farmed. So when people say, "Oh, ours is wild crafted, so it's better," no, that's crap, because it doesn't want to go in a farm.
No, I've looked at the germination rates of those, and it's so hard to grow to begin with, even if you do have the appropriate climate.
So if you can find something that grows on your land, something that people may expect it, they may refer to it as a weed. But guess what? The only real definition of a weed is something that grows where you didn't plant it. It's not about good or bad or right or wrong. They're plants. They want to work with us. They want to reach out and share our experiences. So if you have clover on your lawn, guess what? You have the magic of joy right outside your front door.
Absolutely.
Spring is coming. Purple dead nettle pops up around here all over. You get these big, beautiful fields of purple. It's a natural Benadryl alternative. If you work with it as a dried plant, you're going to get the smoke and the honor of that joy magic. There are all sorts of plants that are growing around you every day. We just have the tendency in our culture to dismiss anything that we see regularly as non-magical. That's not the case.
Cool. It is. And Amy's not going to come in. It's going to be a while. But her question that she had for you was on your social medium spell book that I saw. And neither one of us has that book yet. But what is the social medium spell book? What is it that's about?
I have it right here. So this beautiful small, it's actually very small. It's 4x4. This is a 366 ways to get witchy for yourself. So these are individual spells. It's written up as a calendar. The great thing is Natalie Zaman and I wrote this book together. Really fantastic human. But it's got an index in the back. So if you have an urgent need for a spell for new beginnings, you can just flip to the back and it'll tell you where to find that in the book. So social media spellbook is about embracing your inner craft for yourself. It's going to reinvigorate practices for those of us who have been around a while, and it gets to the point where you're like, okay, we can take it for granted. Our practices can get stale. We've been there, done that, got the T-shirt, and then worn it out and made a new one. I've been doing this for 30 years, and I am absolutely in love with the way that social media magic reinvigorating my practice. I have friends who are like, okay, I own a witchy shop. What do I need this for? I've got this. This is actually a content creation calendar in your hand. So if you're saying, my shop needs some new business, flip to, I opened to August 1st. And the very first spell rather is Lavender Does Not Lie. So you can work the spells on your social media, use it as a content generation calendar for small businesses. There's a lot you can do with it besides just the surface level. Okay, I have a book of spells. Okay, you do. But also, this gives you some really neat ways to look at the materials you have on hand that you might not have looked at them before. I love that.
That is really cool. So it's probably the size of your pocketbook. You can just throw it in there, go away for the weekend. Something happens, you can dig it out.
It's about the size of my favorite tarot deck. So if you've got room in your bag for tarot deck, you've got room in your bag for the social media spell book.
That is awesome. Yes. I see it and it's like, what's this about? And it's like, I never saw that. I thought I knew all your books and everything, and I didn't see that one. It's like, I gotta get that one. So it's on my list because, especially now, I'm gonna get that.
Throw it on my cart, and I'm sitting there like, I haven't seen it being sold here locally yet, but you have like the sneaky thing of like, I'll be going around and like the next thing I know, like 5 of your books are there. And I'll be like, okay. Like, absolutely yes. Or I'm fighting everybody else in my area to buy a copy.
Yeah, this one I really like because Natalie and I took every other day, so you can see the alternating voices. You can see my voice. You can see Natalie's voice. The way that we craft spells, the way that we look at the materials is, we have two separate practices, so it's really lovely to figure out like what did Natalie write, what did Amy write, and you get to know our voices much better because it walks you through how we came up with those ideas, and then you can see what they're doing, and in a couple of minutes a day.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a great concept too. Is like having multiple authors in a calendar type of spell book because you get different practice bases.
Yes,
And like different practices have plenty of different things to bring to the table.
absolutely.
And that's why I love doing these podcasts, is because we get people from all different traditions. And we get to pick their brains on things.
It's really funny.
Like,
we came up with the idea for this book. Goodness, when I was writing my first book, we were walking around New Hope, Pennsylvania, buying trinkets and stopping in little shops, and it's a great place to visit if you get a chance. People refer to it as the Salem of Pennsylvania, and it's right on the border between Pennsylvania and New Jersey. And it's a lovely spot. So we're walking around, we're talking about the things that I want to put in Blackthorn's Botanical Magic. It was my first book, and I was convinced that no one was going to let me write a second one. I'm like, this is it. I better get in here as much as I can. So, and Natalie said, "Oh my goodness, we should write a book on social media spells," because my first social media platform page right now the concentrated reach just on Facebook is 286 million. It's insanity. Like people like what I had to say, but the fact that there were that many people who were interested in talking about magic, she's like, we need to talk about this. We need to talk about the way social media impacts magic. And it's very funny. The number of, we proposed it to a couple different publishers, and one said no right out. Like, we don't think that this is going to age very well. It's like social media isn't going anywhere. Individual platforms, yeah, right and left, I'm sure.
Right.
But the image of social media is a little bent. People think, oh, okay, it's a wretched hive of scum and villainy, and we should stay away. This is how witches connect. This is how I found my first witchy friends. It's 1994, and I'm on Wicca.com searching the Celtic connection for friends. I was the only witch in my small Maryland town, and it was really scary. People say, okay, well, why would you practice magic online? Okay, why did we do it in 1994? Because we didn't have any friends that knew what we were doing. We didn't have people around us that didn't think we were crazy talking about witchcraft.
Yeah.
So it could be, being a disabled person is alienating, being someone who's other is very alienating. This way we're finding people who understand who we are, what we want to do, and we don't have to get persecuted for it.
Yeah.
Cool. I just ordered that book, by the way. When you was talking, I was like, it's in my car. I'm just going to go ahead and get it. So.
Yeah, I love that you can use it as a bibliomancy tool. I can flip to any page and say, okay, sweets for the sweet. It's a sweet bread recipe that I wrote for ice cream bread.
That sounds good.
What
page is that?
It is September 21st.
My book comes about 2 days, so yes.
Yes, there's a sweetbread recipe in there.
I expect to see the pictures, Chrissy.
I'll be
I
making
can't taste it from here, but
I'll take pictures and post them on the Facebook group that we have, and yeah, everybody be the judge of it.
So our next question is in the Sacred Smoke book. You talk about turning your magical cabinet into an incense cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us an elaboration? I have a concept in my mind of how I think this works, but I'd love to hear it from you.
A lot of people are scared is the wrong word, but it's the right vibe. People are really nervous about doing everything exactly right, and they want permission to do X, Y, or Z. So when I first came out with Botanical Magic, I had people coming to me and saying, okay, I can't be a green witch. I kill all my plants. How do I develop a relationship? Am I even allowed to develop a relationship with green witchcraft if I can't grow plants. There's no licensing bureau. No one's going to check.
No.
Going to your spice cabinet and understanding the plants that you're already working with is a place where you start when you're talking about developing a magical practice with plants. Because if you're cooking, if you've got a spice cabinet, you've already got a place to start. If you are a coffee drinker, even if you don't cook, guess what? You have a relationship with a plant. If you're a tea drinker, you have a relationship with a plant. It's getting people past this idea that if it's something I do every day, it can't be magical. And there couldn't be anything further from the truth.
Oh yeah,
So
people
opening your spice cabinet, opening those jars, giving them a sniff and saying, okay, is this something that I need right now? Your oregano and your savory herbs burn just as well as some of the magical plants that you buy from your local independent witchcraft shop. They're going to have really incredible magical aims and magical correspondences. There are plenty of books that'll tell you about them, but by encountering the plant first, by burning a little bit of charcoal and putting a pinch of this and a pinch of that into your burning charcoal, embrace the flames, embrace the smoke, write down the things that come to you. Witchcraft is an experiential religion. We want you to figure things out. You don't need me to take your hand and follow you around forever so you can ask me questions. I need you to figure out what this means for you. And you hear those words, for me. There's about 18 syllables there because no one wants to be told that they're wrong, that their experience isn't valid. What I'm telling you is not only is it valid, but this should be the basis of your working materials, period.
Absolutely.
Yes. Very much.
I agree. That's one thing that I feel I have to hammer into people. It's like, if you're not in my tradition learning directly under me, I have absolutely no authority to tell you what is or is not correct in your tradition because you're not learning it from me.
Exactly.
And those are guidelines. It's not like this is set in stone. I welcome the criticism. Tell me how you do it.
Yeah, I'm giving you a coloring book. You get to decide if you want paint or crayon or gel pens or markers. It's up to you.
Because I have people, at least for me, I'm a folk practitioner, so I do a lot of curse removals and things along cleansings. And a lot of people seem to think that they're very, very difficult to remove. And I'm over here like, you got mint and some rosemary and some salts. You can make a salt scrub and go scrub yourself in the shower for a couple days. You'll be right. And they're just looking at me like, what does my body wash have to do with this? And I was like, well, you scrub your physical body, don't you? Like, what's attached to that? And then they're sitting there thinking, and they're like, oh, I guess you're right. And I was like, I guess my brain works weird, but I'm sitting here like, it's folk magic. It's not that hard. You go scrub yourself with the herbs. You're fine.
We have a couple of comments here. We got our friend Dothos. He says he uses clove in his incense blend. And then he also says, several of the ingredients of my incense blend are found in the spice cabinet. Yeah, mine too. A lot of people say, oh, I gotta buy this herb and that herb. And, it's like, just go to your cabinet. I'm
it's
sure
nice
you
to have. I have some that I will continue to buy as I run low, but ultimately, it's almost always that I'm at somebody else's house and they're like, oh, I have this paranormal activity and it's really creepy. And I'm like, I can get rid of that. What's in your spice cabinet? let me see what you got in this house.
Perfect. I had a cleansing in the middle of, it was dead of winter. It was probably 23 degrees outside. I'm freezing and someone's having an increase in their activity in their home. And so I go in, I have my little magic on the go kit that I take when people call and they have the panic. And I'm like, okay, it's winter time, the heat's going, I'll be in the basement. And they're like, well, where are you going? And I started burning the incense and grinding the powders and talking to it. And I set it right in front of the heat return for the heating element so it would disperse through every room in the house. And they're going, you're a genius. This is why I get the mediocre bucks.
Exactly.
It's just practical stuff.
You do have to be careful about that because if you have a paper return filter, you want to keep the burning object far enough away it doesn't suck an ember into your HVAC system unless you've had it recently cleaned.
Yes, please
I
don't
got
set your house on
yelled.
fire.
I got yelled at by my
Yes.
father-in-law when I told him about that because he's like a contractor, and he's like, depending on your house, he's like, that paper filter's literally right behind that. And he's like, God forbid that sage ember comes right up to it. And he's like, I love the idea. But he's like, also, the idea of having burning embers run through your like furnace system is horrifying to me.
Horrifying.
We have one more comment before the next question. Sherry, she's in the UK, and she says, I use turmeric and sage. I use mint, basil, use a lot.
When you mean garden sage, I assume is what she means by that. Like cooking sage.
Probably, yes.
Yeah, if you have access to it, if you're closer, there's a lot of landscaping shops, especially in the spring. Everyone puts out their plants. If you spot Salvia leucantha, oh my goodness!
Mhm.
So in the salvia family, there's 986 accepted species of salvias.
Wow.
So white sage is one of them out of 986. It's the only one of its. But Salvia leucantha is it looks like lamb's ears. It's super, super soft. It's got long, pointy arrowhead leaves and these spikes that are 2 feet long of these little hummingbird flowers. And as a sage to burn, I really love it because it's much spicier than some of the traditional salvias. The garden sage, it's actually got this really peppery sweetness in the back of your sinuses that's really great for cleansing out nasty energies, but it smells incredible.
I think they call that. That's a member of the butterfly bush, isn't it?
No.
Well,
they're not even in the same family.
Oh no, you're right. Well, I was looking at the pictures and I was like, that almost looks like a butterfly cone bush.
Yes, yeah. They're in two separate botanical families, but yeah, they do have similar structure on the flowers.
Mm-hmm. In your Blackthorn protection magic book,
yeah,
you discuss topics like pepper spray,
mm-hmm.
Situation awareness, handling dangerous situations like kidnapping, domestic abuse. How do you see these safety measures? Because it's happening right now, everywhere, fitting into a book about witchcraft. Do you view practical self-defense as an extension of the magical protection?
Absolutely. You can take yourself out of the magical realm to do your taxes and sort of keep that in that special side project, and look at it as a mundane thing. But I honestly don't think that the mundane really exists.
Okay.
I have been driving down the street in a blue state and had someone try and run me off the road into oncoming traffic, screaming, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live!" Like this is where we live. I cannot be practicing magic. I can be doing something completely other, but I'm still part of that community. So I can still be harassed, threatened, and have issues with people because of my religious practices. So it can be dangerous to be a witch, and that is a very sad fact of where we are. Even this time last year, it was still dangerous to be a witch, and it's important that we are making sure that we're as safe as we can be.
Mm-hmm.
It is never the victim's fault that they are the aim of an aggressor.
Yeah.
That being said, I want to make sure that people are as safe as they can be. If one tool made all of the difference, there would never be another murder as long as we live. If making a law saying, okay, murder is illegal, I would love for you to keep an eye on how many places have people gone where that's still happening, even though we've made a law saying that murder is illegal.
Right.
So knowing where to buy pepper spray, knowing how to buy pepper spray is just one tool that we have access to. If you go to your local outdoor supply store, you can see there's a rack of self-defense options for pepper spray. You'll see pink ones, and I've seen little mirrored glitter balls, and I've seen all sorts of things, all sorts of shapes, colors, and sizes. I've been doing this for a very long time. They are different. It's not that they're all the same, so it doesn't matter what you get. That's couldn't be further from the truth. If you've decided you want to carry pepper spray, do me a favor and go and buy 2. When you look at the material on the shelf, you go on Amazon, whatever it is, buy 2. You find the one that you want, buy 2 of them. That seems kind of wasteful. Absolutely not. What I want you to do is I want you to take it out, one of them, outside, away from everything else, as far as you can get away from people, animals, pets, and the like. And I want you to spray it until it is empty. You need to know how far it's going to shoot. You need to know what pattern it's going to make. You need to know how far away you can be and still hit your attacker in the face. I want you to be as careful as you can, because these are very strong materials. When we talk about self-defense, we are talking about less than lethal options in this part of the book. There is no such thing as a non-lethal force. Your attacker could have asthma. They could have a lethal reaction to being sprayed with pepper spray. They made that choice when they decided to attack you. Absolutely, period. So we're buying 2. You need to know how far it's going to go, how fast it's going to go, how quickly it's going to empty the canister. How long are you going to spray it until it is empty? Okay. It's just like a fire extinguisher. If you hit that button by accident and just spray a little, it's trash now. We can replace it. We cannot replace you.
Wow. I never thought about that, of getting 2, but that makes so much sense because, I'd rather know ahead of time than be surprised when it happens. And it's like, oh my gosh, now
I've trained a couple of people to use them.
So take the one that you're keeping, take it and write a date 2 years out. So if you bought it today, 2/27, 25, 7, 27, 27. Oh my goodness. Write it down there because that propellant is going to last in that canister for 2 years. After that, it's trash. It will dissipate slowly over time, and you don't want to be holding something that's not going to work and expecting it to do the job for you.
Absolutely.
On the same topic, but a different question that I just kind of came up with is, what would you suggest to the audience for a woman to carry in her pocketbook?
I would start with always start by recommending pepper spray because it's a chemical. It's going to do its job long term. You don't have to worry about it not working in the next 2 years. It's something that you can easily access in a variety of places. I found a little gift shop on Main Street in my town because I live in a college town where you can buy cute little glitter pepper sprays. There's something that is available for everyone. I get a lot of people who ask me about the little kitty cat keychains they've seen on TikTok or on Amazon or who knows where. And it's cute and it's pink and it's plastic. So it's got to be fine, right? Because it's non-threatening. No, that's not the case. Not only can you break your fingers using it, but it is prosecuted under the same laws as brass knuckles laws. So
I was wondering about that because they're not legal in my state.
No, they're not legal in most states. So people are saying, okay, it's cute and it's non-threatening, so therefore it's fine. No, my love, it is not. I'm sad to report you cannot carry that most places. Now, in Delaware, for example, an asp baton, I can carry it with a concealed carry license, but I can't without. You've got to look at some of the things that you're looking at using to protect yourself, especially with your city, county, and state's laws. For example, the next county over, stun guns are legal. Here, they're not legal. Tasers are less legal everywhere. If you have a legality issue, it's usually with tasers instead of stun guns. But there is a chapter that talks about the difference between stun guns and tasers and what their pros and cons are both, because they both have pros and cons, just like every other self-defense tool. So people say, oh, okay, well, can I carry a Kubaton? Again, it's a little metal rod about this big. Sometimes it has little pokey bits on it, and people carry their keys on them. They are a self-defense tool. They are going to be something that depending on where you're going, is legal or not legal. And if you're
Mhm.
traveling like I do, I drive. I've driven as far as Michigan, and it's pretty scary to go through some different neighborhoods that my GPS has taken me through.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
you need to know where you're going, how you're going to get there, and what are the potential pitfalls of the direction you're going, because
Mhm.
every municipality that you enter is going to have its own laws.
That is interesting. Yeah, I saw that chapter and stuff, and yeah, I know when my granddaughter, when she graduated from high school and stuff, and I got her like a protection kit with some pepper spray and some stuff in it just to make sure. I even got her little um one of those throwaway phones just in case,
Good.
if something happens to her
You
phone.
never know.
She has one down there. And I always told her, tuck it in someplace to a secret in your purse or something, nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
So, so I'm glad you said that because, a lot of people does need to know that.
Well, there's some crazy great ones. It's not legal here, but I've seen it's a wide tooth comb. It's
Mhm.
about this big, and it has a hidden 4-inch knife in it. And you pull the handle out, you hold the comb, pull the handle out, and it's a 4-inch knife.
And it's a plastic 4-inch knife, which means it'll go through metal detectors, which is why
Yeah.
it can be illegal in your area.
It's a concealed carry, and the blade's over 3 inches. You can't carry a working blade more than or over 3 inches without a concealed carry permit here, which I don't have.
What state?
Nebraska.
Oh yeah.
They have some weird ones. I can have a full taser, but I cannot carry a blade more than 3 inches.
Yeah.
But I can
Delaware's
carry an entire sword, but I can't carry a pocket knife or like a concealable blade over 3 inches.
Yeah. In Delaware's an open carry state. So I can walk into a gun store, buy a firearm, put it on my hip, and walk out the front door, but I can't own a stun gun.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some weird.
Colorado, I think, was the same way too. It's open and carry state, but
Yeah.
there's some stuff you can have. I know when I've been with my husband ever since I was like 15. So I know when we was in karate together and everything, he got me a butterfly knife
Mhm.
and taught me how to use it just in case. And I know you cannot. I know it's not legal though, but I did feel very protective of knowing how to use it, and
Oh,
so
absolutely. I
yeah.
bought. So I have kind of a queer little commune here. It's me, my husband, and then we have another couple that lives with us, and my roommate, his partner is a trans woman,
Uh-huh.
and I live in like one of the sketchiest parts of our town. I live in the hood, and when she moved in, one of the first things that I did was like, I would recommend that you get something.
Right.
It's like
Mm.
we have things in the house, and like this is where they are. If you're not comfortable, trust me, we're fine. But if you're out grocery shopping or something, I don't want somebody to have a problem with you. And like I wouldn't expect that to happen, but people are stupid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so I showed her how to do pepper spray, and then they sell these adorable little baby seal tasers. It's a 7,000-volt taser,
Yeah.
and it's like this big. You rip the head off, it's a little rubber cover, and it's a full taser. And so they fit right on the side of a purse. They look adorable. And she got it because it looked that cute. They also have a normal, I think, too. But
Yeah.
she never had to use them. But I almost used one when I was grocery shopping in the soup aisle. And I got assaulted by a little old lady who had a problem with my clothing choice. And she decided that she was going to splash holy water on me and then try to exorcise the demons of homosexuality and witchcraft off of me
I'm so
as
sorry
I'm
that
sitting
happened.
there I had a trans rights Baphomet shirt on,
Yeah, yeah.
and she did not like that. And I had some choice words for this lady, and then when I realized that what she threw on me was water, after that I calmed down a little bit, but I decided she needed a lesson. So I scared the daylights out of her by calling her a bunch of unholy names in German, and her being this little lady not knowing German at all thinks that I just put a horrific curse upon her. So she falls back, clutches her pearls, and like scoots back in the soup aisle.
Oh my goodness.
Like she lost all
Don't assault
gumption.
people. How about that? How about don't assault people?
I know,
Oh
and
my
I'm sitting there like, first off, like, I'm in the soup aisle, I'm buying groceries. Like, I'm not over
I'm
here like
bothering you at all.
proselytizing you or like bothering anybody. I'm literally just buying groceries. But like, how rude. Like my first thought was like, why would you like what crossed your mind that you thought that this was one, something that was okay to do, and two, where did you get the balls to do it? Because the audacity.
Not only that, who goes and gets holy water so they can attack strangers with it?
I mean, that
A nut, yeah, a nut.
And that
Yeah.
is absolutely right.
I mean, I keep holy water in my like cleansing go bag, but like
Right.
that's a whole different story. Like that bag has a purpose.
Yeah, I'm not carrying it in my pocket waiting to throw it
I
at
don't have
somebody.
it. Yeah,
It's not the
it's
holy
not in my
handmaiden of
backpack.
Antioch.
No. And I'm sitting there like, okay, like whatever, but like I've had to like obviously like I'm gonna do everything I could not to like if I had to defend myself from this woman I would have, but I luckily diffused the situation. She was a frail old lady. I'm not gonna swing at her. I am gonna scare the daylights out of her, but that's my privilege as a 5'5" white man. That's the joke. I'm short, but men are scary. Like-
I'm very lucky that I'm 6 feet tall, and I'm unintentionally even I'm kind of scary. So
That's
I
why I'm
definitely-
appreciative of my husband. I married a 6'1" Marine.
yes.
He is my scary guard dog.
Oh my god, I love it.
And
We're going to go on a break in just maybe for a minute and a half, and then we'll be back with some more questions for Amy. So hang tight.
Today's Witch Magazine, brought to you by Covered Bridge Press, LLC. Imagine a world where every month you're greeted with a 50-page print magazine packed with high-quality graphics specifically tailored for the pagan community. Today's Witch Magazine is your gateway to a universe of insights, inspiration, and enlightenment. Whether you're a seasoned practitioner or just beginning your journey, this magazine supports all pagan traditions and levels of experience. Each issue is a treasure trove of interviews with luminaries like Oberon Zell, educational materials, and thought-provoking articles. Subscribers rave about the knowledge they gain and the vibrant community they join. But the magic doesn't stop there. Other publications include their Travel Guide for Pagans, featuring over 309 stores across the states, updated yearly to keep your spiritual travels seamless. And for those who love a mental challenge, their Pagan Puzzle Book offers 63 engaging puzzles and 13 coloring pages, perfect as an educational tool or just for fun. Today's Witch Magazine invites you to become part of this growing community. With affordable advertising options, you can share your event or business with a vibrant audience. Their commitment to ethical values and fact-checking ensures you're getting quality content every time. So, what are you waiting for? Visit todayswitch.net now to subscribe and explore advertising opportunities. Let Today's Witch Magazine be your monthly companion in the magical world of paganism.
Welcome back, everybody. So, Amy, how did you get started on your path? Because you seem young, and you seem like you've been on for 30 years. So, was you a baby?
Yes, I was. My older sister was in high school and came home from school with her best friend in tow, giggling and smuggling in her backpack. And I'm like, okay, what do they have? I thought she just had some wicked awesome candy in her book bag. When I went snooping, because we shared a bedroom, I found Wicca: A Guide for a Solitary Practitioner by Scott Cunningham. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
at 11 years old, I'm reading this by the light of the gas station down the street at midnight, trying to figure out what is this amazing stuff that they're talking about. And I found a book that discusses everything that I already believed. It really enumerated the things that I had felt in my heart for the longest time, because I was already the plant person from a very, very young age. I was in the third or fourth grade. I'm going to the neighbors, offering to do chores for them for pocket change so I can buy the plants to make my own window box. It was terribly adorable. But these are the things that I was already feeling. I would go to church because our parents sent us, but it was always, we moved a lot and we'd just go to whatever church was closest. There was no denomination. It was just like, okay, you're the closest, we're going to go here. And our parents just sent us. They never actually went with us. It wasn't a religious upbringing. It was free childcare. So, when I found Cunningham, I thought, okay, this is what I've been feeling my whole life. Why did nobody tell me this existed? And so I started walking to the library. Well, I was already going to the library, but I started reading everything I could find on witchcraft from the 133s, different mythologies, and I just started absorbing everything I can until I about 15, I told my parents that I was a witch. I waited till mom was busy cooking dinner so she couldn't hit me. And I said, "Hey, Mom, I'm a witch." And she says, "Oh, have you told your dad?" No, not yet. So I ran outside, and my stepdad Johnny is gardening. He's building a trellis for a clematis in the garden, and I said, "Oh, hey, Johnny, I'm a witch. If you have any questions, you can let me know." And he said, "Oh, I dated a witch in high school. How was your day?" Like, there was no, I'm expecting fire and brimstone and hellfire and threats, and they didn't care at all. They were just very, very blasé about the whole thing, and they just really accepted it and moved on. My mother got me my first athame.
Oh.
I was very, very lucky when she wanted to tell her friends. She asked for my consent to tell her friends, and then said, "Okay, well, Mickey is her oldest friend." So she said, "Will you tell Mickey?" "Yes, I'll tell Mickey. Here you go, Mickey. Hey, guess what? I'm a witch." And she says, "Oh, now I want to tell somebody. Can I tell somebody? Can I tell somebody?" Yes, it's fine. So she goes to lunch with her best friend Melanie. She goes and says, "Hey, Mel, guess what? Amy's a witch." And Mel says, "Oh my goodness, so am I." And so now I've got a magical best friend, and my mother is sending me away to her house on the weekend so they can have grown-up married people time, and I can have witchy time. And that's how I found my first coven. The minute I turned 18, I ran out and I joined the first coven I could find. Never do that.
I agree.
Date around a bit. Don't marry the first person you see. You got to know that it's the right person.
Right.
So I was really lucky. I joined that coven. I've got a great basis for what to do as a person. I'm now officially an adult. Okay, what do I do with that? I go and join the coven. And so I was really, really lucky to find the people that I did. And I've had so many magical experiences and so many traditions and so many incredible people. And I feel like I'm just getting started being an adult, and it's been 20 years.
Excellent. I think Cunningham was a lot of people's first books. That I know Dothris says that was his first book, and then The Power of the Witch by Laurie Cabot.
Oh yeah, the copy that I have is bright magenta pink.
Yes, that's a copy. Yeah, I think it was her first copy of it. Yes.
I think the Cunninghams, because that's similar to what happened to me. Is I was a freshman in high school, and one of my friends, he was Wiccan. I didn't know, and he's like, "Well, you like witchcraft and rocks and stuff," knowing that I studied historical witchcraft and stuff. And he's like, "Well, our family coven just dissolved, and so they're having a garage sale. So I got a couple books, and I know they'll go to good use. So I got a copy of Scott Cunningham's Guide to Solitary Practitioner, and I think his Herbal Encyclopedia, and they're first copies, but I got those at 14 and started, and then luckily my parents were super chill about things, which was weird because I was raised Irish Catholic, and they're like, okay, well, you can't drive to the store you want to go to, so my mom would go take me to the occult store, and I had a job, and I'd buy whatever I wanted, and they just never asked many questions, and they're just like, our kid's a witch. And I think 2 years ago, my mom sat down and we had a lunch date, and she's like, so are you still doing this? And what is it actually? Like, what are you doing? So we had a heart to heart on it. And she was like, I just had questions that like I didn't know what to tell people. And I was like, oh, well, that's fair. Like, just go tell people that your kid's a witch. And her view of what witches were was kind of what you would assume a Catholic person's view of witches are. And
Right.
I sent her videos from one of the pagan events we were at, and that we had a petting zoo. We had a goat rescue, and they brought in these adorable little Brahma goats, and we were bottle feeding these babies. So I sent my mom this video of like me and my husband feeding these baby goats, and tell her that we're at the pagan festival, and she's like, "The goat's not a part of the ritual, right?" And I was like, "Mom, no, it's the petting zoo, for God's sake."
I
We
was
went over this.
I was really nervous to tell my mom, so I told my aunt first. I figured it was a good practice run.
Mm-hmm.
We called her Peep, and so I sit Peep down. I'm like, hey, I took my own copy of Cunningham, and I say, okay, Peep, this is what I'm doing. This is what I think. This is what I believe. Here is a book that you can look at that says what we're talking about. I didn't just make this up out of the blue. And so we had a beautiful heart to heart with it, and I felt so much better that I was able to go and tell my parents. But unbeknownst to me, my parents had split like 3 years before that. So 3 of my sisters were living away from where I was, and I had no idea. A week to the day later, my older sister Holly went to Peep and tried to have the same conversation for her. She's all screwed up all of her courage, and Peep says, "Oh yeah, maybe I talked about this last week." I did not. I swear I didn't know, but I absolutely stole it for thunder.
Oh,
That's cool.
yeah, my husband said that's cool. Nick, you have another question, hon?
Yeah, let's see. I reworded this one. So in your book, Botanical Magic, it provides a wealth of knowledge for beginners looking to explore green witchcraft, including helpful herbs and illustrations of what those plants look like. Can you, and given your extensive study of plants over the years, did you find writing this book to be an easy process, or did you have any challenges?
Oh my goodness, the hardest part was the editing, because there's so much material that I wanted to put in. For example, when I was writing about frankincense, I think I sat down. My process at that time, I would sit down, I'd put a drop of whatever essential oil I was working with that day in my diffuser, and I would write just that plant that day.
Mm-hmm.
But I sat down to write about frankincense, and there's so much material there that I looked up, and all of a sudden I had written 30 pages on one plant, and I was still going. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm using up all my pages. They're not going to give me more. So I better cut some of this and find something else to do with it. Mm-hmm. So the things that I cut, I actually kept in a separate document, and I made memes to advertise the book. So that way the material still got out there.
Yeah.
Because that's what I've been doing too, is folk magic is like the weird thing of like, you drop little tidbits on people here and there, and like, it's their job if they pick up a practice on it, but you just give them the little bits here and there to fix what they need. And so writing a book on it was really, or working on writing a book on it was really hard for me, because people like trying to put it all down in one place when you're used to just dropping little bombs here and there on people, be like, oh yeah, just do this, it's fine. And then sit there and be like, it went against everything in my brain to be like, okay, let me like, I made coursework for it, and then I took my coursework, and now I'm working on turning that into a book, to find out that my 35 pages on my coursework is like half of a book already. And I was like, oh, cool. Formatting's weird when it comes to writing books, because depending on like the size of your book depends on like how big your book actually is.
They give you the word count that you're allowed to. So I definitely didn't have a frame of reference for how big 80,000 words was.
Yeah.
When I first started, it's like $1 million. You unless you're sitting there looking at it, it's just sort of a nebulous concept. And so I started going through and I was searching on different book sites. How long is this book? How long is that book? And so I went to one of my favorite authors. I'm like, okay, which of her books has 80,000 words in it? So I could give some sort of frame of reference. And then it wound up being closer to 85,000 words. Even after I had cut some of the sections, like frankincense, lemon balm had 1 million jillion pages. Ginger had a lot of work. So there was definitely some things that I had to cut to make sure that word length was going to be respected. But it was really difficult because there's so much I wanted to talk about. And again, I was convinced they were going to let me write one book. Nothing was going to happen. I was just going to right off into the sunset. And as soon as they're getting these numbers in for the pre-orders, they sold out the first print before it even got released to the public. So just for the pre-orders there. So they were scrambling around to do another order before the release of the first book. So
because
they
I
had
was
sold so many. They asked me to write a second book before I'd even finished the first one. So yeah,
that's good.
Because that's this one, if anybody.
That's that one.
And like the botanical magics and the protection magics, I feel like people always ask me like, what's a alternative to Cunningham's book on herbal witchcraft? And I always point them towards your book.
Yep,
because they're like, I don't want something super Wicca focused, but I want like something that's like a good alternative. And I swear I've gone through like 5 or 6 copies of these because I keep giving them to people.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I'm stingy with my books. I want to keep.
I normally am, but if they're authors that are still in print, and I can afford to give somebody a copy of it, I will. But if they are my out-of-print authors, absolutely no. I have a library checkout system. You need to give me your left shoe when you're reading it in my house.
That is for sure.
I'm that way with Rich.
Because I had a copy of Melody's Love in the Earth years ago, and somebody borrowed it and absolutely destroyed it, and I never got it back. Like, that book was toast. And I tried to replace it to find out that obviously she's been out of print for a while.
Yeah.
And a replacement copy used is
$1 million.
a few $100 if you're lucky. I've seen copies go for over $1,000.
My husband does. He with Reverend Gamasi books. We have all of them, and somebody says, "Oh, let me borrow that." He's like, "No, go buy your own."
They're all autographed.
Most of them are autographed though too, because we used to do pagan events, and they came a couple of times. So, but speaking of projects, and I think don't you have another book coming out that I saw on your Facebook? So do you have any projects coming out, I should say?
So 2 books were released on Labor Day. The social media spell book and there's a copy. Sacred Plant Magic just came out on Labor Day. So I was touring for that for, oh my goodness, from August to Thanksgiving. So my next project is due in 2.5 weeks. It will be out March of 2026. Yes, I'm very excited. We've pushed it back to spring. Is a book on shadow work.
Yes.
So the pre-orders for that should be up in a couple months, and I'm really, really excited about it. The cover is gorgeous. Don't tell Sacred Plant Magic or even Botanical Magic, but I think I like this cover the best of all. Don't tell the others. Uh, but it's absolutely breathtaking. Catherine Skypeck is the art department director at Weiser, and everything that she's done for these books has been incredible. And so I'm so lucky to have her signature on my books, because she's given all of them a family resemblance, even though protection magic and botanical magic are two separate feels, styles, materials. You can still tell that they're Amy Backthorn books. They have the
cohesiveness.
Yeah.
They have a family resemblance that you can't fake.
Well, I love that, like, when it comes to shelving books, because some authors, their books are so varied, and like where they'll make 3 books that are all the same size and all the same formatting, and then they'll write that one book that's just shorter. It's like, why did you do this to me? My bookshelf was all neat and like level, and then you wrote the stubby thing. Like, the book's great, but like,
publishers.
Well, the little small book, the such a medium spell book, that's going to my purse. So
Yes.
it's going to go on my shelf. I'm just going to keep it in there, or keep it in with my magical tote bag. I'll probably do that instead, because I got a feeling I'm going to be using that quite a bit.
it sounds super useful though, because like, 1, it's compact and easy to carry around, and 2, it's also a planner and an index. And I'm a sucker for a good index and a good bibliography.
Yeah.
I'm a double Virgo. The bibliography is right there in my heart place.
Oh yeah,
When
because like, that bibliography turns into my shopping list.
so in the back of Botanical Magic is an index, but I wrote it as a recipe index because I indexed it, again, double Virgo. But we didn't have page numbers when I wrote this index. So I'm like, how am I going to index something if we don't have page numbers? So instead of page numbers, I would actually, I grouped it by the spell need. So there's banishing spells and blessing spells and whatnot. And it goes through the different ones, all alphabetized. So if I want the Big Bad Be Gone oil, you just run your finger over and it says, oh, go look for that in sandalwood. So you turn to sandalwood and you can see the different things you can do with it.
Yep.
But we had a magical accident, because when you look at this, you now have a ready-made substitution list in the back of the book.
Which is one of the things I love about the book.
Yeah.
Absolutely, my favorite part is it's a little secret that not many people know, because I'll tell anybody that'll hold still long enough for me to tell them, but I'm only one person.
That book, guess where it's at?
Where?
It's in my hutch, in my kitchen hutch, with all my herbs and everything that I have.
Well, that's your apothecary hutch, so that makes sense. So
it does make sense. Well, see, I had so many. Yeah, that one my husband loves, about the brews and everything.
So, Botanical Brews lives in the kitchen.
Yeah, he lives in the kitchen. Both of those do, because it just seems like it's the only place for them, actually.
That's where I blur the line when somebody says, I'm a kitchen witch. And I'm like, I'm a triad witch, but all my stuff is in the kitchen that I... You know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. We look at those 2 books quite a bit. Then, I think we got one more question here for you, Amy.
Let's see. So I believe you're also a tarot reader and do readings at a business, or do you do readings at a business, or do you do them live on social media?
I don't do live readings ever. Not ever. It is way too personal to put somebody's business out on social media. Absolutely not. I refuse.
Bravo.
I
think that way too. A lot
I'll
of people
do them on a personal
readings,
like on a FaceTime call, but I won't do them on like TikTok Live or anything like that. It's just
absolutely not.
I make people cry when I do tarot readings sometimes, and I don't want to put that out there for people.
Right. So when I started, I've been a professional reader since 1999. I love what I do. Netflix called me truly gifted, and it's like, what planet does Netflix know who I am? I absolutely love what I do. However, when I was a very new reader at a new shop. I wasn't a new reader. It's just that the space was new. I was new to that shop, and the shop was new. How about that? And so I walk in, and I did an interview reading for the owner, and she says, "Hey, you're great. Let's work together. I'll put you on the schedule." The shop was small enough at this point that the reader's table was in the middle of the store, offered no privacy.
Ooh.
I have better boundaries now and won't read somewhere that doesn't have privacy for the person that we're reading for. But a husband and wife team comes in, and they sit down at my table, and she shuffles the deck that I'm using, and I'm laying it out, and I've got this. I'm really involved in this reading. Like, my brow is furrowed. I'm in the cards. Nothing else exists. And I look up to say, "Oh, does that make sense? Like, I just babbled all this stuff at you. Do you get any of this?" And she's going, "No. Like, what are you talking about?" I said, I'm looking at the cards. Everything is crystal clear. I've never been more sure of anything. And I'm like, "You're an accountant, right?" Her husband, who she was thinking about when she shuffled, this is his reading. So I made sure that I only read for one person at a time. If our in person, only one person comes into the room. This is not audience participation. Very personal material can be revealed. And more often than not, ever since COVID, I do a lot more Zoom business because people don't have to leave their home. They don't have to go to a place they don't know. They don't have to risk exposure to measles or chickenpox or anything else. They can we can have a private conversation over Zoom, and they can go about their business. So I can read for people anywhere in the world. Just meet me over Zoom.
That's about how I do them. I don't like doing live on like the internet or anything like within a group. Like I said, over just one-on-one, on StreamYard or anything like that. Because to me, I think a reading is very personal to that person. And I don't like doing couples. I like doing them separate, because doing couples, sometimes there might be something there that might get them to be in an argument or something later. So
Absolutely.
Yep. You're feeding a fire between them that you didn't want a part of, and it's a dumpster fire.
Right.
Or there could be infidelity. There could be medical issues.
Oh,
There's so many things. I won't read for couples at all. You can come in separately or not at all.
Exactly.
I had someone in law enforcement who used to come when he had difficult cases, and we talk about them. That was really helpful. But again, I wasn't going to make sure. I was going to make sure that nothing was accidentally leaked. I will use the same protocols that I use that therapists use, as far as white noise machines outside the room, and make sure that no one's overhearing accidentally or on purpose. I want to protect the privacy of the people that read with me.
Absolutely.
I do parties at home for people. They're like, "Okay, you guys can have a party upstairs. I'll be downstairs, and whoever wants to come and talk to me, they can come talk to me." And so, God, this was probably 15 years ago. A dear friend called me, and she said, "Hey, I'm kind of lonely. I want to have some people over." So Millie likes this story too. I want to figure out what's going on. She said, we'll put you in the basement, and anybody wants to come hang out can come and see you." Perfect. Lovely. I'm like, there's no pressure. Anyone wants to come and hang out, that's great. I'd love to talk to them, but please don't pressure anyone. I'm just happy to be here. And so it's about halfway through the night, and this woman comes downstairs. I've got a card table set up in this very nicely finished basement. It's the husband's man cave. There's a giant mural painted on the wall with a big helmet, and I'm sitting at a card table going, "Okay, hey, what's your how you doing?" And this woman sits down at my table, and she puts her hands on the table. She does not want to be there, and she is making it very clear with her body language that she's not interested in being here. I'm like, "Hey, buddy, we can just hang out here and talk for a couple minutes. You can tell people you got a reading and just go about your business. If you don't want to be here, I don't want you to be here. Like, I'm not making you do this. You can go back upstairs. Whatever it is you want to do, everything's fine." She says, "Well, I'm here. I might as well do it." Okay, that's fine. And so when she slams her hands down on the table in front of me, and I can see every single finger has at least one, but 2 and 3 diamond rings on every single finger.
Ooh.
And they're my counsel sits over my shoulder, and we're going, "That's a lot of guilt." Not, oh, how pretty, or somebody must love you, or you must love yourself. No, her hands are just dripping with guilt. Okay, so I start laying out the cards, and I'm telling this woman, maybe you need to take some time for yourself, try and get your self together, find something to do for you, like you've been doing for everyone else for a very long time. How about you take some time for yourself and your needs, and making sure that the things you would like to do, you deserve to have your needs met too. I'm trying everything I can to be as gentle with this woman as I possibly can. And by the end of the reading, she is clutching herself, rocking back and forth, and shaking her head. You couldn't be more wrong. You couldn't be more, like, she's visibly upset. I'm like, I'm not going to charge you. You feel free to like go upstairs. Everything's going to be fine. You have a great night. Mm-hmm. We can just pretend this never happened. Mm-hmm. And she gets up so fast, like she flings the folding chair behind her with her legs, and she stomps up the stairs, and she starts yelling that I'm a fraud. She stomps out of the house, slams the door, and left her daughter behind. She left her daughter there going, okay, so that just happened. The daughter is the one who comes down as the next person. I'm like, I can't tell you what happened because I don't really understand what happened. She's like, no, that's my mom. Everything's fine. She's just like that sometimes. Okay. 2 weeks later, the host of the party calls me and says, you're never going to believe what happened. Tell me. I bet I will. And she says, so-and-so was my sister-in-law. And so we invite her to things, but she's always like that. So it has nothing to do with you. I'm like, that's fine. But she was obviously going through some things, and I want to make sure she's okay. Her husband sat her down and explains that he had been cheating on her for 12 years. The number of diamond rings on her fingers, 12.
For each time.
One for each year that they had been together.
Oh.
So he sat her down to tell her he was leaving her for the other woman. And so I'm heartbroken for her. This is just awful. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. And it explains why she had such a violent reaction to the very, very gentle, take some time for yourself conversation I was trying to have. She knew. She didn't want to be right, but she knew.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
So I would never have that conversation with someone in the middle of a party or in the middle of a store.
No.
Right.
Or, God forbid, the middle of TikTok. No, we're not doing that.
Right. So where can the audience find you at? I know you have a Facebook.
Yes.
What else do you have?
We also have amyblackthorn.com, where you can download free the first 30 pages of each of my books. I want you to know that you want my voice in your head. I want you to know that this is something you want to purchase when you buy my books. Mm-hmm. So you can read little snippets of each one. They're available everywhere fine books are sold. I was absolutely gobsmacked that you could buy my books on Walmart.com and Target.com. Mm-hmm. But you can also check out blackthornsbotanicals.com and order autographed copies of my books. There's links through amyblackthorn.com. You can just pop right over there. And I'm also on TikTok if you want to talk about plants and their allies, or just magic and witchcraft together. Both on Instagram and TikTok. I'm Amy Backthorn author. Just make sure you put the little underscores on TikTok to make Amy _Blackthorn _author.
So do you still have the podcast?
Yes, I do. The Blackthorn Grove is about once a month. I get a new episode. We're on season 5 now. I started it before the pandemic. The little voice in my head said, "Hey, why don't you go and do this?" My agent and my publisher wanted me to have a blog, and I'm like, the creative energy I need to do the writing should be reserved for the books. I can't do a blog and still do the writing. There's just not enough. But the talking to fabulous humans like yourself doesn't take the creative spoons that writing does.
Right.
So I was able to start the podcast and have a lot of fun with it.
And you have a tea brand too, don't you?
Mm-hmm. That actually started before I was writing. Well, I've always written, always. But I was working security, and it was killing me. This one place where I was doing security, I was the head of security for 2 high-rises in Wilmington, Delaware, the most expensive real estate in the state. the 2 buildings that I was the head of security for. So that's 35 floors of people whose lives were literally in my hands. It was a very, very hectic place to work. My very first day when I was in training, I wasn't by myself yet. I was still in training. They had to show me the ropes, and you had to do, a week's worth of training or something. The very first day, I had a bomb threat, a death threat, and a suspicious package. My first day. It was a lot. So I couldn't be Amy Blackthorn and security Amy at the same time. I was just losing my craft. I felt incomplete.
Right.
And I decided to train my replacement and leave my job and leave security and find whatever the next thing was going to be. And so my very first day as a joyfully unemployed person, I went downstairs and I dragged out the big cauldron and the big Van candle from Coventry Candle Creations. Jackie Smith I love her. Please buy all of her books. Give her all of your money. And I'm carving into the candle, and I'm throwing herbs in the pot, and I'm talking to the materials like, hey, I need something new. I need to get rid of all this old baggage. I don't know what the next thing is, but I'm going to need some help to figure out what that is. Mm-hmm. And so I'm working like I've never worked before, and the doorbell rang. Like I've got the lighter getting ready to light the wick, and the doorbell rings, and I'm thinking, that is the fastest magic I've ever done. The postal lady says, hey, can you sign for a package? And so I sign at the door, and I go back in the kitchen, and all I can smell is the Van oil on this candle that is incredible. It's lemony, it's sweet, there's ginger. It's a beautiful recipe if you've never had the opportunity to smell it. But I said, oh my gosh, what if I had tea to drink and while to do the ritual of preparing the tea while I'm doing the ritual for this magic? Like, what if I had spell teas that match intentions, and I could be doing the spell while drinking the spell? Mm-hmm. And a little light bulb goes on over my head, and the next thing I know, I had 15 blends and a business plan. And now 15 years later, I'm up to 125 blends. Mm. And yes, so Blackthorn's Botanicals has been my it's my joy. Like there's the immediate benefit of saying, okay, this smells really good. I'm going to make it a cup of tea, and you have that dopamine hit of finishing something, doing something creative, and getting to see the results of it all in one step. So it's been really fun to be able to do that.
Cool. Well, Amy, it's been awesome to talk to you. I just want to say one thing.
Sure.
Really a badass person.
Thank you so much. That's so kind of you.
Because your books are they're great. I mean, everybody should have your books. I mean,
thank you.
You can learn so much from them, and the ones that they should, I mean, it's a keeper of years to come. It really is. I mean, some books you buy, you kind of outgrow it, and then for your books, never.
Well, they're almost all like reference type books where it's like you keep coming back to them. There's always more to read and more to find, and that's part of what I love about your books is like, I'm at a point in my practice where it's like I've done all of the regular witchcraft. Like, I know how to do these spells. I want the index books that I can put on my shelf so that I can go back and be like, okay, I ran out of this. What do I need to do this because it's escaped my brain?
Yeah. I wanted people when they saw that I had recipes in Blackthorn's Botanical Magic, they were so hesitant. They're like, okay, well, what if I don't have a million oils? When you look at Blackthorn's protection magic, when you look at botanical magic, there's 1,000 things to do with one ingredient rather than spend $200 on oils and be able to make one oil with it. That's I experienced homelessness as a child, and making sure that we had enough was a full-time job for my mother. I want people to know that their budgetary concerns are valid, that witchcraft can be expensive because we like the fun, shiny things. Yeah. But I want you to know that you can do this because you are the magic, not the accoutrements, not the essential oils that not the pretty candles. They smell amazing, but you are the magic, not the materials.
Blessed be. Yep. That is correct.
Absolutely. That's why I think I fell back into folk magic is that I grew up in like pseudo poverty, but also that now as an adult, like, do I love collecting crystals and the giant, beautiful smelling candles? Absolutely. But I don't need to go spend $200 on a fluorite tower to do a spell.
No.
Like, I'm just as happy going through and whatever's in my kitchen cabinet or foraging outside. I love wild foraging for plants and herbs in my practice.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, like, I think I get better results when I go get the plant myself and use what's. I've been working on like rewilding my craft, I guess, where like I'm focusing on what grows in my areas and like tracking down the magical properties of them. Like, we have a plant here called cleavers. I don't know where else it grows, but I love this plant so much. It is great. It's for love bindings. It's a great lymphatic drainage plant, and it's really good at things for protections or for spells that you really want to stick to something.
Yeah.
And it's native to my area, and it's a weed, but I mean, oh god, it's a fun plant.
But thank you again, Amy, for coming on. And hope you come on maybe next year for some more books. I mean, I know we didn't touch base on a few of your books that I wanted to touch base on, but you know, there's always next time. I do
Absolutely.
encourage everybody in the audience to please look her up, buy her books. You won't regret it. Until next time, subscribe, like, and share, and look up Amy Backthorn. Bye.
Thank you, guys.